Hello everyone, David A. Cox here with Tech Talk America, and if you've ever wanted to learn about video editing, well, guess what? I've got quite the class ready for you today. Welcome to my class all about iMovie. This is kind of the software that when I was a kid, I originally learned, and it's sort of what led to sort of what I do today. So I'm very, very excited to share it with all of you. Now, the class that you're about to view is, of course, free for all of you to enjoy. The one little thing is that if you would like the PDF guide that goes along with it, it's $3. You can pick it up just by clicking on the link down below in the description of the video. Finally, before we get over here to my computer, just to give you a little bit of context about the footage that you're about to see, I recently took a little vacation down to Palm Springs, California. Had a wonderful time with some of my friends. We took a few little day trips. I brought my iPhone, I brought my gimbal, I brought my drone, and just had fun taking little bits of footage. And so that's what I'm going to be using to edit today while I'm teaching all of you how to use iMovie. Let's begin. All right, everyone, welcome to my desktop. I think we are about ready to begin. The one last little thing I want to mention is for any of you who like having closed captions, I am adding them to this video. So it takes me a week to put them out there. So if you like having subtitles, I added to quite a few of my more popular videos. Just go to the little CC button that you see when you screen over here, and you can turn that feature on. All right, let's screen over here to iMovie. And what I wanted to do, I was trying to come up with how I wanted to teach this class to all of you. So we're going to start off with a blank project here. And then what I'm going to do is kind of switch over and you're going to see a project that I actually already have in the works. But that being said, this is the screen that you're going to see when you create a brand new blank project. And the first thing you do whenever you're creating a project is you are going to have to import your footage. So the way you can do that is click right here where it says import, or if you're already in the process of creating your video and you need to import stuff later on down the road, you can also use this little arrow here at the very top left. So let's click on that. And at this point, the computer is asking us where's our footage coming from? And you can pull it from wherever you want. The way that I tend to do it is I tend to shoot a lot of video these days with my iPhone, but what I do is when I'm done with it, I transfer it to an external hard drive. And that's a really good idea in general because video footage can be really, really big. And when you start to create a video that's made up of other videos, those types of projects tend to bloat in terms of the file size. So it's a really good idea to keep it off of your local hard drive. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you a couple of clips here, and we're going to kind of start having some fun with editing them. And then we're going to switch over to that real project. So for now, I'm just going to pick these three little clips here. I know from some of the past videos, I know you guys tend to enjoy some of my drone footage, and we're going to be switching over to some other footage when we go to the other project. So for now, I'm just going to select these three clips. And so now, if you look here at the top left of my screen, we have these three little images. But these images are not images. These represent video. And you'll notice that as I move my cursor over them, this process, by the way, is known as scrubbing. You can see that the window on the right is showing us a little preview of what we are seeing in each of those clips. But the space that is really important here is down below. So the bottom half of my screen, this right here is referred to as the timeline, and that is where the actual edit is going to take place. So what we basically need to do is take this section up here, known as our project media bin, and we're going to just start to tell the computer where do we want our shots to roughly start, where do we want them to end, and then we're going to start to drag them down below. And I want to give you a few tricks to make this process a little bit easier. And by the way, some of these actually do also work in Final Cut Pro, should some of you decide to graduate to that. So this first shot here, when I do drone shots, I kind of like the initial liftoff shot. This is, by the way, in Palm Springs, California, actually technically just outside of Palm Springs. And so when you're finding your shot, the most important probably keystroke that you need to know here is the spacebar. When you tap the spacebar, that is going to play or pause your video. So because I have my cursor up here at the top left, when I hit the spacebar, it's going to play the video. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I need to tell it where do I want my shot to start. Let's actually rewind here just a little bit. Okay. And so when you know where you want your shot to start, you're going to tap the I key. That's setting your in point. So just think the word in. And when I do that, you can see that now that clip is highlighted. So I'm going to hit the space bar just to get enough footage that I want for this initial shot. And then when I'm done, I'm going to tap the O key, O for out. All right. So we have our in point playing, and I think I'm just going to actually cut off that shot right there because this shot's kind of boring. It takes me some time to get up to speed, so I'm just going to tap the letter O. Now there's a couple of different ways that I can get that footage down below. I could drag it and drop it. The keystroke that I tend to use more of these days is the letter E, and what that will do is that will place your video at the end of your project. However, in this case, because it's our first clip, the end and the beginning are the same place. So as you can see here, it moved it down below. And now if I hit the spacebar, I see that same shot, and there we go. Let's grab just a couple more so we have something to play with here. So let's go later in this video. You can see here there's a little river here, and at least it used to be a lot bigger apparently. So let's hit space and tap the I key. Okay, and we're flying, we're flying. Come fly with me. Okay, I won't sing, don't worry. All right, so we're flying, and now we're going to end that shot. So I'm going to tap the O key and then the E key. So O for out, and then E to send it to the end of the project. So if you look here now, we now have two shots. And automatically, when you go from one shot to the next shot, it's just simply a cut. There's no kind of transition. It's just boom, one shot, and then play, we're at the next shot. Very simple. Okay? So now that we have kind of those down, what you're going to do in your project is you're going to just go through all of your footage and start setting your in points and your out points and get everything down here below. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this project and we're going to switch over to one that I already have in the works. So I mentioned already that I was in Palm Springs, California recently, and one of the things that I did while I was there, as you will see right here, is they were having a vintage RV show open to the public, and so I checked it out. I happen to have my little handy Steadicam from my iPhone. If you ever want one, those things are awesome for shooting video footage. I'll give you a link in the description of the video. And so I just shot some fun video. I thought it would be good to use as demo footage in the process of teaching this class. So you can see here at the top left, this is all of my footage. And one of the tools I want you to see here is you'll notice that at the bottom of some of these clips, there's this little orange line that you see here. So what that orange line means is that's the computer telling me that that shot is already down here somewhere. And it's just basically a good tool so that you don't accidentally repeat yourself over and over again. You don't want to accidentally have the same shot more than once, unless you mean to, of course. The next trick I would like to show you here is how to create a splice. So that's when you're going to take one shot and cut it into as many shots as you need. So I want to show you this shot here. So this is taken from inside, oops, sorry, let me mute the audio. Taken from inside the tram, headed up to the top of the mountain. And you can see we kind of swing by something there. Did you see that little thing that went by? And now kind of adjust the shot and we're pulling away into this nice kind of cool big shot. All right, so what I want to do is I want to take that shot and I'm going to end up separating it into two different shots and ultimately try to cut out this little, basically the thing that we're in is actually rotating. So that's the panel between the two, or that's the connecting part between the two glass panels. So I'm going to cut that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of get this first shot here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor right here. And by the way, you see that line that always moves with my cursor? That's technically referred to as the playhead. Just a little terminology there. So let's hit Command B, and that is how we splice. Now that is slightly different for those of you who ever move on to Final Cut Pro, so that's a little bit of a difference. But now we kind of move ahead, and so now the shot is moving up, and I do this little camera movement. I'm going to wait till I have my shot. And it looks like the movement has stopped right there. So then I put my playhead right there. And once again, I hit Command B. And look at this. So what was once all one shot is now three different shots. And so I can delete this middle section. And so now my clip just goes from shot A to shot B. Just like that. So that's how you splice. The next trick that I would like to show you is how to trim a shot once you've already imported it into your timeline. So in this case, I'm going to show you how to take this shot here. Let me just kind of show you the current setup. So we see the license plate and with a little swivel. Oh, but that swivel went on a little bit too long. I wanted to cut it off a little bit before then. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the clip, and all we have to do is put the cursor towards the right-hand side, and you'll notice that when I do that, you'll see that the cursor turns into two arrows pointing in opposite directions. So now what I can do is just click down and drag a little bit to the left, and that will make the clip end earlier. Now, it's also good for you to probably know that let's say this clip didn't start at this point, say it started a little bit earlier. Alternatively, I could also drag in the other direction. So this can be used for trimming in terms of if you need to shorten or lengthen any clip. At this point, I would like to start to talk a little bit about audio and adding music and sound effects into your project, as well as how to manipulate them a little bit. So if you look at my screen right here, you'll see that I have this green bar here below the footage. That green bar is the music that I'm going to be using in this little project here. And there are several different ways, of course, that you can bring music into your project. You can have it just as a straight file, which is probably what you're going to be doing if you're going through one of the more legal processes to add music. So for example, if you use one of the resources that I'm going to be giving you in the PDF guide for where to go to get music, and there's going to be several there, you're going to be downloading a file and you're just going to literally be dragging and dropping it into iMovie. In fact, if I actually scroll to the very top of this list, check this out. See these 4 items that you see here at the top? These are me playing with different audio clips, trying to see which one was going to pair well with the section down here. So literally all I did was I went and I imported that particular file, and then I just dragged it and dropped it down below. Now, there's other ways that you can get audio in here as well. So for example, if I go to the top left of the screen, see here we have the tab for Show Audio. The first one you'll see here is iTunes. So any music that you have in iTunes, you can theoretically drag and drop into your project. Now, that's usually all good and fun, provided that you're not making money off of the final product. But just be aware that there are these things called copyright laws, and they are quite complex. And if you would like a legal way to get access to music, just know that I'm going to be giving you several resources. You know where to go to get them. So any music you have in iTunes, theoretically, if I want it, I do love that song, you can drag and drop it down below and it'll snap right there. Another thing that I want to mention are sound effects. So there are several sound effects that come with your Mac. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sound effects actually that come with your Mac. So check this out. If I go in here, I'm at the top of the list. I'm just going to start scrolling. Just look at how many sound effects we have here that we can access. Now, to my knowledge, these sound effects you can legally use in any project you want. But then again, I'm not a lawyer. So if you look here, if you ever need, vacuum or a toilet flush, hey, you never know. You might not have to buy that resource. You might be able to get it just from what comes with your Mac. So same deal here. If I want this toilet flush, wonderful example, David. Great job. We can just literally take that and drag it down below, and you can see now it's just kind of an additional green bar. So it's showing me that the flushing is going to begin right at this shot. Yeah, let's delete that. Now, when it comes to adjusting the audio, so if we look here at this green bar, you'll notice there's a couple of little sections here where it goes into the yellow. Yellow is all good and fun. The problem is when it gets into red. And at that point, if you see red, like I can kind of simulate it here, see how there's a little red there at the top? At that point, what's going to happen is people who are listening at home is just going to kind of distort and blow out. So you really want to avoid that. So what you'll notice is there's a horizontal line that's running through this entire audio clip. So what I can do is I can grab it and I can drag it down. And it's showing me a percentage. And of course, 100% is the way that it comes out of the box. Okay. So if I need to give it just a little bit of boost, I can drag it up just a little bit, or I can drag it down if I need to. Now, another thing that you're going to run into at some point is you're going to need to know how to fade audio. And the way that you do that is if I go over here to the right-hand side, all right, you'll notice this teeny tiny little green dot right here. And so you will find one of those at the beginning and the end of every clip that has audio. But you're not going to see it unless your cursor is over it. So for example, this little clip here where my friend Richard and I are talking, you'll see you don't see those little dots there until I put my cursor on it. Okay, so what we can do is we can grab that little dot and then we can drag it to the right. And so what that is doing is that's creating a fade. So what it's showing me right here is that it's going to take approximately 1 second to go from mute all the way to the full volume that it's going to achieve. So you can drag this, make it as long or as short as you want, just like that. Another trick that you might occasionally need, especially when you're dealing with dialogue, is you might occasionally need to separate the audio from the video. So for example, in this clip, this is my friend Richard and I just introducing this little segment here. You can see here the audio and the video are all one. And the easiest way to separate the two is if you just simply secondary click on it. Check out here, we have an option to detach audio. So let's say I wanted to maybe show all this footage, but I wanted to get rid of us on camera. Okay, that would be one way that I could achieve that. That way I would get rid of the video, but still preserve the audio. It just separates the two tracks. Another thing I would just want to show you here real quickly is how to zoom in or out of your project. You will notice that here on the right-hand side, we have a little slide bar, and if you move that to the right, it's just zooming into the project so I can see more detailed information, which when you're making little refinement, corrections, especially like trimming, this is going to definitely be your friend. There's also a multi-touch gesture to do this. It's the same gesture that you would use to zoom in or out of a web browser. So you're going to do 2 fingers, starting them together, and then if you pull them apart, that's going to be zooming in, and the reverse is going to be zoom out.
Hope you're enjoying the class, everyone. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break.
The next tool that I would like to show you how to use are titles and also backgrounds, although the backgrounds part we're going to cover fairly briefly. Now, I have switched back to the old project just because I think for this particular purpose it's going to be easier for me to demonstrate it. So here, if you look at the top of my screen, we have these 2 different tabs. We have titles and backgrounds. And basically, most of your titles here, not all of them, most of your titles you can choose to add 2 different ways to your video. You can either add them over video, or you can add them over either a black screen or some sort of another just background that is provided by Apple. Now, one of the things that you should also know about these various titles that are here, many of these titles you actually do also have access to in Final Cut. The thing that's going to be very different here in iMovie is the ability to customize a lot of these. So, for example, let's say you saw one of these that you really liked, but you didn't like the part of the screen where the text appears. In iMovie, there is very, very little ability to customize that type of action, whereas in Final Cut, it's whatever you want. It's kind of an open field. So just be aware that that is going to be a little bit of a limitation that you're going to have here in iMovie. So if I'm going to make some sort of a little opener here and add some text to my clip, let's say I want to open up this clip, what I'm going to do is take it and I can drag it on top of my video. But I also want to show you something else here. I'm just going to end up doing it twice. Instead of this time dragging it on top of the video, instead this time I'm going to drag this, oops, if I can grab it, I'm going to drag it between these 2 shots. And you'll see that this time it took on this kind of block-like shape. So when you drag a title between shots, you're basically immediately telling the computer that you want it to be over black. And sometimes that's what you want. So now in this case, when I hit play, you can see the title is there and it's just, there's no background of any kind. Whereas over here, it's now playing over video. Now you probably guessed this part, but anytime you want to alter the text, all you got to do is just click into it, double click into it, and you'll have all of your little text manipulation options here up at the top of your preview window. Now, another option that you have here are backgrounds. So let's go over to that tab right here. These backgrounds are fairly generic. These have been around for quite a few years at this point. The top ones that you see here, I never really got why Apple seemed to push these in particular so much. These are just different, basically globe animations. And what they're really meant for more than anything is for showing travel. Sorry, let me get that off of that screen there. So let's say I'm trying to show me traveling to Palm Springs, California. Okay, we can do that real quick. So let's grab this old world style map. And I'm just going to just drag it in here just so you can at least see what this looks like. We'll cover this very quickly. When I double click on it, you'll notice that all of our options to customize it are up here at the top right. So it's saying, where are you going from? Where are you going to? So I can say Boston, Boston, where it's really, really cold right now. There we go. Okay, and it's saying where are we going to, and I do know that one, PSP. Okay, so do that, and then it automatically will create this little animation for me. So let's play it. So boom, we go from Boston to Palm Springs. Yeah, like there's a direct flight that does that. Okay, so another thing I want to show you here, if you do decide to use a map, is if you do want to make this clip longer or shorter, just know that those options I showed you as far as making the clip longer by stretching it out or making it shorter, this is going to do the same animation. It's just going to make it take longer or shorter. So like if I now make it 7 seconds, you'll see it really takes its time now, which if you're going to end up doing like maybe a voiceover at some point, that's where you really might need that feature. Now, below the maps that you see here, we have backgrounds, and some of these backgrounds are animated and some of them are still. So you can probably guess that all the bottom ones here, these are all still. These are just solid colors. And some of these up here are as well. But we have some like this one, it's probably very hard for you to see, is stars. This gradient one is used in a lot of keynote presentations. We have kind of an underwater effect. So just basically be aware that if you want your text to go over something other than black or footage, just know that at any point you can kind of grab one of these, let's just grab gradient, and you can just drag it and drop it into your project. And now I can take the text and move it so that now, instead of being over black, now it's over that little background, just like that. The next thing that I want to show you is how to add transitions between your clips. And in order to do that, just go up here to where it says transitions at the top center of your screen. Now, at this point, you can take any of these transitions that you see here and you can drag them between any clips. And in fact, you can actually do it at the beginning or the end as well. Now, the ones that you're most likely going to use more than others are probably these first three, which are cross dissolve, cross blur, and fade to black, which is what most people are going to probably do at the end of their various projects. So all the other ones here that you see, these are all kind of fun, funky ones, and they're fine to do now and then, but, adding funky transitions is like many things in life. They're fine in moderation, but if you do a little bit too much, somebody's probably going to vomit. So for now, let's just grab one of these funky ones. Let's grab a spin in effect, and let's just drag it between these two shots. Now you'll notice that when I do that, it's represented by this little bow tie icon, and if I put my cursor over it, it tells us that that current transition is 1 second. So what that means is it's basically going to go from this shot over to this shot, and it's going to end up ultimately subtracting half a second from this shot and half a second from that shot. So that's how you basically get to 1 second. And the only reason why I really bring this up is that if you're transitioning between shots and one shot is too short, it's not going to really allow you to do it. So I also want to show you how to adjust the length of any of these transitions. And all you have to do is double click on it. And you'll see here that you can change the duration. Just be very careful that you don't hit apply to all, unless of course you intend to. So in this case, let's change it from 1 second to 0.5. That'll be a lot better. And now hit apply. Another thing that I want you to know is that whenever you're in iMovie and you're playing back footage, whether it's here in your project or whether it's, up here in your media bin, if you notice that the video isn't completely smooth, like if it stutters a little bit when it's doing one of these transitions, just understand that your computer is doing a lot of different things that are in the background, and it may not always show the video very smoothly during this process, but when you're finished with your project and you export it, it will be a very smooth video. Just depending on how nice your processor is and a few other specs of your computer, yeah, it might stumble a little bit. So let's just see how that transition looks at this point. Let's hit play. Great, good to go.
I hope you're enjoying the class, everyone. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break.
I thought that some of these shots would be really good to show you all some of the color corrective features that are available here within iMovie. So the first one that I want to talk about is one that admittedly I don't really actually use, which is this little magic wand icon that you see here at the top towards the center of my screen. It's just kind of an automatic tool, and it has the ability to improve not just video but also audio. It can deal with color and stabilization, and so it's just a one-click solution, and in a pinch it's fine. I always like to do a little bit more than just that. The next tool that we have over here is the color balance tool. And when you click into that, you can see we get a couple of different drop-down options. The first one here is just automatic, hey, make my shot look better. Okay, again, in a pinch, it works. The second one here is match color. And, some of you may not use this feature, but let me give you an example where you might use it. Let's say you are like me, you go out with your friends who think that they're squirrels, apparently in a past life. That's Richard, by the way. And, as you can see here, all my friends had their phones. So they're all shooting video. And the thing is that some people have phones that are newer, and some people have phones that are older, and some people, when they're filming, they have, some sort of a... one of the color filters on it, and some people don't. So where match color can come in handy is when you have two shots from two different devices, but you want to make it look like it's from the same device, okay? Because otherwise it looks like, okay, you can clearly see this is camera A, you can clearly see this is camera B. This just makes it all kind of look universal. So when you go to match color, basically what will happen is you'll get to just kind of skim over and just click on another clip that you want it to match the lighting profile of. So for example, if I click on this one, that's actually pretty close. This one's a little bit grayer, so theoretically it should desaturate it. So let's try this. Click. And there you go. It desaturated it. So now those shots match, hence the term. Okay, that's that. The next tool I want to show you is how to white balance, and we're going to be using this shot right here. This is my friend Richard. We're not really sure what's wrong with him. Something with a squirrel. That's all we really know. We don't have a lot of information. So in order to white balance, we're going to go up here and go into white balance. Now, at this point, what you're supposed to do is click on a part of the screen here in the preview window that is white. And what it's going to do is it's going to balance the rest of the colors based on that. So I'm going to pick this little part of white from the sign. Now, another thing that you can do here if you want is you can have a little bit of fun and be creative and try clicking on colors that are not white. And what you'll see is it totally changes your image. So for example, when I click on the rock, you can see it kind of tones everything down. If I click on his skin tone, you can see it turns everything a little bit on the blue side. If I click blue, it turns everything red. So kind of a fun thing to experiment with. The last one here is skin tone balance. So that would be, for example, if you have an actor on camera, it's just going to, make it look pretty for skin tones. That's basically it. Next, we go over here to some of the color corrective options. And so you see we have these different dots that are here, and these dots represent different parts of the photo. So here on the left-hand side, this part represents the shadows. So it's going to be the darker areas of the image. And you can drag this either to the left if you want to go kind of extreme, and you can see some of the darker parts of that image just kind of disappeared, okay? Or you can, bump it up a little notch. So if you have a part of the image that's kind of not really seen very well, you can give that part a little bit of a boost. Now, the next one that we have here are these two buttons are actually the same, okay? So these two are your midtones. So you can see here, as I move one, it automatically adjusts the other. So you can kind of balance your midtones however you like it. I know that's not actually balanced, by the way. And then over here on the right-hand side, this is going to be your highlights. And so you're really going to especially recognize highlights when you have sky in the image. But you can see here some of the bright parts of the image are kind of coming down a little bit. They're not quite as harsh, okay? And then over here to the right of that, we have our saturation options. And so if I go all the way to the left, that's going to completely desaturate us to black and white. There we go. That's one of the ways you can get to black and white. Actually, if you want to go black and white, there's probably another way you might want to check out that'll make it look a little cooler. That's coming up soon. What I tend to recommend is just add a little bump of this. If you go too far, it can look fake. If I go all the way, yeah, those trees, yeah, those look real. Those look real if there's nuclear material in the area. Okay, and then over here we have our color temperature option. So dragging this to the left is going to make it cooler, makes it look like we're more in winter. Okay, and we go to the right, we're in hot, hot summertime. So I'm going to keep that kind of right in the middle there. So that's a little bit of your color corrective options. The next one we have here is your cropping options. And I think what I would like to do for that is I'm going to just really quickly go and grab a photo that I can bring into this project. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so I got an image for you here. Here's a modern day Thelma and Louise shot. How's that right there for you? That is there's Richard and moi. There you go. So I'm going to drop that for no apparent reason in here into this project because this is going to give me a much better ability to show you this tool than video. So we're going to go back up here to cropping. Okay, so as you can see here, there are three different options here when it comes to cropping. We have fit, crop to fill, and Ken Burns. So fit is just basically it's just gonna fit it. It's gonna be just that. It's gonna be a flat image. It's not gonna move. Just that. Okay. Crop to fill means that it's going to just isolate this part of the image and it's going to blow that up so that that is the entire image. In fact, let me just do it here real quick. So voila, just like that. The Ken Burns effect, though, I have a feeling is going to be probably one of the key features that a lot of you are going to be very interested in, because still a lot of people shoot more photos than they do video. So the Ken Burns effect is just a very simple way to give a little bit of motion to your still image. And the thing that I always like to advise people about it is that it's all about the subtlety. You don't have to do these big dramatic movements. It's really about allowing people to have time to appreciate the photo and just ever so slightly guiding their view. That's what you should think of it as, at least in my opinion. So what we have here, as you can see, are two boxes. We have a start box and we have an end box. So it's just saying, okay, this is going to be the beginning of the image, and then it's going to automatically animate it to kind of shrink down, and it's going to just focus on that part of the photo. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to use this little tool right here to swap these shots. Now, I could just move these and manually drag it, but this is just faster. So I'm going to move and make this box a little bit bigger. So I'm going to drag it up a little bit, and you'll see here we do have a little crosshair, and it's kind of indicating the direction in which it's going to travel. And now I'm going to just grab a corner and expand it a little bit, because again, it's all about the subtle. Okay, just like that. And when you're done, you can either hit the Enter key or you can just click out of this. You will see also we have some options here so that if your photo is the wrong way, you can just rotate it automatically. So let me play that back for you now so that you can see how that looks. See? A little bit of movement, but not too much. Now, if I wanted to extend the length of that shot, I could use the exact same way that I trim, the way that I showed you how to trim earlier. So I could just grab that shot, grab the right-hand side, because we're extending it, we're going to the right, and then just drag it out, and it's going to reanimate it. But this time, the amount of the amount of time it takes to get from point A to point B is going to take significantly longer. So you can see here, if I had narration going in this kind of piece, you know, it's a great way to really extend the life of a photo. Okay, just like that. So let me take the audio off of that shot. Okay, so the next shot that we have right here, the next option we have, let's click into a shot. Okay, this one right here is your stabilization feature. And, you know, it's one of these things where now with some of the newer iPhones, they have stabilization already built into them. So one of the things that I've been finding is that many times I really don't even need it. Now, granted, I already mentioned to you, this is all shot with a gimbal. So if you want to check out that gimbal, I know I'm over pushing it, but it's so cool. You got to check it out. Anyway, but the stabilization tool is right here. So you just click on it. It analyzes your shot. Sometimes it can have a little bit of a distortion effect. So what's nice about this is that now you can adjust how much it stabilizes it. Because if you go too much, it just ends up looking weird. So you just have to check this box right here, and you can see it's analyzing for dominant motion. Very official. And it's on a gimbal. I don't know how much it's going to actually do. Yeah, it was already pretty good. Okay, and then we also have, if you have an issue with a rolling shutter, you can just turn it on right here to do that. Your audio adjustments right here, okay? For this, we can just kind of go into the automatic mode. With a lot of my videos, I tend to usually delete the audio, but if you want to adjust the volume, this is really the exact same thing as going down here and grabbing that line that I showed you and bringing it up or down. Bad example, this one right here. because you can see the audio waves right there. So if I need to make it louder, it's just a lot easier to drag it up here rather than go into this menu. The next one we have here is speed. And I want to show you, I have a really cool clip that I put together here for you. Hold on, we need to go back to the section that dealt with the trailers. Okay, here we go. So I have this really cool section that I wanted to demonstrate to all of you to give you an idea of something, okay? So let me show you how to use the tool first, and then I want to demo this. So the speed tool here is where you can basically take any clip and you can make it faster or you can make it slower, whatever you want. There's actually another option here too called freeze frame, which is very cool. Parents, if you got kids doing sports, freeze frame, very cool option. Make sure you check it out. So slow-mo, basically, you'll see in some of these clips right here, some of these we have a little turtle. Turtle. I know my animals. I'm okay. And over here, we have a little rabbit. So the rabbit, as you might be able to guess, means the clip is going to be faster and the turtle's going to be slower. Above that, we have a little dot. And so you can see here, if I click that and I drag it to the right, it's just going to slow it down a little bit more. And if I bring it the other way, for example, with the rabbit one, it's going to make it a lot faster. So the reason why I wanted to show you this is I wanted to give you all an idea for a type of shot that looks really, really cool and is super easy to replicate, especially when you can see it the way that I'm presenting it to you here. So as we were going through the RV show, I had this idea to demo this kind of shot to all of you. And so what I basically did was I've got my little gimbal. Okay, and so I'm going through the area here, and I see one that looks kind of cool, and I just do this kind of little thing where I just kind of arc around it very slowly, just a little arc around it. Okay, that was a bad example. That one was a little bit cooler, so I hung around that one a little bit more. Then I took off and I did it to another one, but I'm recording this entire thing. So what I'm basically doing here in editing is I took one clip. This is all one clip. Okay, and then I spliced it up into sections. So there were parts that were traveling, and then there's the parts where I kind of hover like that shot right there, okay, where I'm hovering over something. And so then what you do is you mix it up. So look here what we've got. We've got, these two are actually part of the same shot. Or I didn't mean to split these two up. So we have fast, imagine that as one, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. And then I actually went normal speed, fast. So watch what happens when you see it play back. So there's a little production trick for you. The next effect that I would like to show you is how to add a filter to your video. In this case, I'm going to be using this clip of my friends not really listening to my direction, but that's okay. It's just a fun video. And so they're, trying to pretend that they're struggling to get up the mountain. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to throw a filter on this to make it a little bit more movie-ish. Okay. Make it kind of cartoony. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the filters, and I'm going to go here to where it says clip filter, which is currently set to none, and we're just going to go in here, and you'll see that I get this whole window of options, and you guessed it, as I move my cursor over, it's going to show me the same clip over and over again with these different filters already applied. And it's pretty cool because it's instant. So like that's kind of a cool one. Vignette always looks cool, I find. One trick I want to give to you, those of you who want to get a bit more creative with some of this stuff, there's the second option right here is flipped. And sometimes if you use the flip feature really quickly back and forth, it can look really cool, but just as like a quick flip, 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 that kind of thing. But the one I really liked more than any for this was the silent era one. You can see it's got like the hairs on the, on the projector. It's got, the lines going through it. So I kind of dig that one. The last thing I want to show you here is something that I think a lot of people forget exists here in iMovie, and I want to show you where it can really save your butt. Okay, pretend that I'm, using this clip right here, and for whatever reason, I need to go back and find where that file originally lives, okay? In a lot of the other editing programs that are out there, when you go to, like secondary click on it, there's some way to get info on the clip. The only way to do it is through up here. That's what that little I is. And the important thing here is the file name. And so if you ever find that you're in this conundrum where where is that file? Just know that go to here to info, there's the name of the file, and you can just search for that through Spotlight. The next trick that I want to show you is one that I actually did allude to earlier, but I wanted to take a little bit more time to demonstrate to all of you. This is an effect that is really great with action. It's really great anytime you have any kind of a big reveal type of shot. So let me give you an example. Here's our shot that we're playing with. This is not my pool. YouTube does not pay that well. At least they don't pay me that well. But let's take a look at this shot. I wish this were my pool. Maybe a couple million subscribers later. By the way, subscribe. Thank you. So we're flying. By the way, this is my drone. So we're flying over the pool. I saw this cute little opening right above those chairs, and away we go. So when you have a big reveal shot and you want to make it stand out, here's a cool way to do it. Pause the shot where you want it to kind of focus on. And you got to make sure the clip is selected. So let's click into it right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull down our menu up here. We're going to go over here to modify. And sorry, I clicked it off. Hold on one second. There we go. Modify. And it's the third option down. Flash and freeze frame. So with one click, it basically does a couple of different edits. So now check it out. So now it goes up. We flash white automatically. We do a little Ken Burns action, and we continue the video. All in one click. You can do that right there. The next tool that I want to show you is the voiceover tool, and you can access it by clicking on the microphone right here towards the center of my screen. If you want your voiceover to sound really, really crisp, you're going to probably want to consider getting a microphone other than the one that comes with your Mac. If you're curious about the one that I'm using right now, it's made by a company called Blue, and it's called the Yeti. I'll give you a link to one down below in the description of the video as well as in the PDF guide. But basically, you just plug in whatever mic you want and then choose it here from the input source. Then when you're ready to record, just hit the record button. It'll rewind 3 seconds and then start to play your project. One of the settings you probably saw there is the option to mute the project because, of course, if you're playing your project while you're recording audio, it's going to sound a little echoey. And then finally, when you're done with your project and you're ready to share it with the world, just go up here to the File menu and come here down to the Share option. Now you'll see we have a bunch of different options here, including several different social media networks, but what I tend to recommend that you do more than anything is just export it as a file. That way you can really send it from your computer to anywhere, and frankly, when it comes to SEO, you're going to probably have better success going directly to the social media network of your choosing and uploading it directly. That way you can add things like keywords, a more thorough description, potentially a cover image, and all of those things will ultimately help you in terms of getting more people to actually view the finished product. That is, of course, if you share it on social media.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this class. Make sure you check out my class on Final Cut Pro if you really have fun with this and decide you want to challenge yourself and go to the next level. Also, I'd like to remind you at this point that if you ever would like to work privately with me, that is something that I do. I do private one-on-one lessons remotely. I've also recently started doing consulting for those of you who are looking to start your own YouTube channels. That's something I very much enjoy. So if you want to find out more information about that, just visit my website at techtalkamerica.com. and then just go to the page called Private Lessons. Thank you for watching, everyone. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America. Class dismissed.